Hey everybody, welcome to the Let's Play Leak. I'm John as always, and we're back into Kerbal Space Program. You might remember last episode we got Fran Bell-Kerman by the moon. She flew to the moon. We didn't know if we were going to get there. She bravely went and actually came back too. I had no real plans of her coming back, to be honest. We're going to do a couple quick bits of housekeeping here. First thing up, you see up at the top we have 74.6 science. If we right-click on the research and development building, we'll see that we have a research science limit of 100. Any science that we get over 100 is going to just get wasted, and we probably will go over 100 if we don't spend some right now. So we're going to go to R&D and spend some science. And what we're going to spend it on is flight control. We're not actually going to use any of this stuff in this mission, but we will very shortly, and it's going to take 45 science, which will free up some space. The important thing we're going to get here, we're going to get a cockpit, which is for like a plane, and we're going to get some wings, but we're going to get a small inline reaction wheel. The inline reaction wheel system used a series of spinning discs that are going, quote, very fast. So something that you can get into if you're really interested in the numbers and really technical stuff is that right-hand pane there on the reaction wheel. It says pitch torque of 5 and a yaw torque of 5 and a roll torque of 5. So that's how much torque it has, how much strength it has to go in those various directions. Pitch, yaw, and roll are WS, A and D, and Q and E. But the important thing I want to show you is way back at the start, we have the MK1 command pod. That's what we're using. And in the right-hand pane, you see that it has a reaction wheel built into it. And that's why, with that command pod with pilot in it, we can move any ship that we have the command pod on, because it has a reaction wheel built into it. Some point very soon, we're going to be using the Staputnik MK1. This is an unmanned probe core. This is going to let us send up probes that don't have any Kerbals on board. And in the right-hand pane, you'll see there's no reaction wheel. If I sent up a probe with no reaction wheel, I would have zero control of its movement. I could throttle it up and down, but I couldn't rotate it in any direction. So we are going to need to throw a small inline reaction wheel onto our probes in the near future. But those little panes there, they can give you a ton of information about the parts, the thrust, the specific impulse of engines, and tons of stuff, just so you know. But we're going to buy that science, and we're going to use that in the future. The other thing we're going to do, of course, is get some contracts. So we went to the moon, so now we have the new contract of orbit the moon. And that is going to be our primary mission for this video. So we're going to accept that contract, of course. And there's a few more in here. First up, you'll notice that there's contracts to rescue Kerbals. There are some Kerbals up in space now that have been placed there. We didn't send them up to their doom, but they're up there now. They must have gone on their own missions, and we can go and rescue them if we want to. That's going to be for a later video. We're not going to do those right now, but there are a couple of simple, easy missions that I see here. Science data from space around Kerbin. We're going to be in space around Kerman. We can do science data, so we'll take that one. And science data from space around the moon. We're going to be there too, so we'll take that one as well. So we've got some contracts. We're going to build a spaceship and take off. And I'll jump back once we're done the spaceship. You've seen the moon orbiting spaceship before. We don't need to go over building that again. Alright, here we are on the launch pad with our ship with Fran Bell-Kerman in the pilot seat. And we've made a couple of tiny modifications. The first modification is the 3 outside boosters are going to fire by themselves. The middle one's not. We don't need to waste all that speed going through the atmosphere. We don't want to lose a whole bunch of thrust. The other thing is you'll see 2 little lights here. I added on, let's see if I can get there. I can't get there easily. I've added on 2 batteries. So when engines are burning, most of them, the big ones, the solid boosters here, the big engine that's housed in here, they generate electricity. They have an alternator in them. So they're recharging the built-in batteries in the command pod just by firing. The tiny engine, the little engine that's really useful in outer space, it doesn't have an alternator in it. So if we were in space for a long time and we were using electricity by turning our command pod, that uses electrical charge, the command pod also just uses electrical charge by existing, we would run out potentially and basically be uncontrollable in space. These batteries should give us enough extra electricity to be able to complete this entire mission. At some point we'll unlock solar panels. which will actually recharge these batteries as long as we're in view of the sun. But we don't quite have those just yet, so I just slapped on a couple of extra batteries just in case. But we're going to go to the moon, and I'm going to get us into orbit, and I'll see you then, because we've gone to orbit several times. Alright, and we're back. We've got ourselves into a basically circular orbit around Kerbin, 167 kilometers and 153. Pretty high. I made a couple of little mistakes getting into orbit. You generally want to keep that around 100. There's no need to be this high in orbit, but that's where I ended up. But we're going to go to the moon, although, oops, I just remembered, first off, we need to get science from around Kerbin. So we're going to zoom in and we're going to do some goo. So mystery goo, well in space near Kerbin. 0.1 science doesn't get me much, but it's part of the contract. So actually, I don't know if I've taken a temperature measurement or in the space around Kerbin. Maybe that'll be better. Yeah, there we go. We get 8 science. We take that. So you have to actually return the science to Kerbin or transmit it back to Kerbin. We don't have an antenna on this, and we're planning to go back to Kerbin. But once we get back, we will get that contract completed. So now we're going to go to the moon, and I'm going to show you something I didn't show you before, and I'm going to hope that I remember how this works. If you click on the object you want to go to, you can set it as a target, and it's going to add some stuff, basically. It's going to add an ascending node and a descending node. So that means that we're 0.4 degrees off of the orbit. So our orbit is ever so slightly inclined compared to the orbit of the moon right now. So basically one part of our orbit is slightly higher than the orbit of the moon, and one part of our orbit is slightly lower than the orbit of the moon. It shouldn't have any impact on our mission. It will at some point. At some point, those nodes are going to be more important, but right now it won't. But what we can do is we can throw on a maneuver node and do what we did before, basically make our path cross the moon. Whoops. Pull it back a bit. And we get 2 more markers. We get closest approach and closest separation. So basically, when we get to this point, this is the closest we'll be to the moon. When we're there, the moon's going to be over there. That's pretty far away. But what we can do with that information is we can, move this around and get it closer to the moon. So we can go do, and there we go. We've got a moon encounter. Easy as pie. Now that's a really fast moon encounter. It looks like we're going to encounter the moon for about an hour. That means we're going to be going really fast towards the moon. I'd rather something like this. We're going to encounter the moon in 4 hours, and we're going to leave the moon about 20 hours later. That's a nice, slow moon approach. That's going to give us plenty of time to orbit the moon, and most of you probably can figure out how to orbit the moon, but I'll show you how in a few seconds. We're going to get to the moon now, though. We need to burn for 40 seconds in half an hour, and we should have more than enough fuel to get there, do some science, or get there, orbit, do some science, escape orbit, and come home. So we're going to turn our pod towards the maneuver node. That is the blue one, of course. And I'm going to show you another thing that I haven't shown you yet, because I didn't know it existed. It's a new feature at some point in Kerbal before I ever used to play this, is you can warp to the next maneuver node. Whoops. So if you click, come on, how did I do it? I know I did this before. Alright, so I don't quite see it here, but there was an option previously that said warp to next maneuver, but you can still just warp here. So this is at T-minus 30 minutes, we need to burn at T-minus 20. So if we warp here, this will speed up time, and it will take us to where we want to go, and it'll slow down time so that we end up right at the spot that we clicked. I don't know why it wasn't allowing me to go to the next maneuver. It did previously, but oh well. We'll get close. So you see we're getting close to the point that we clicked on, and it's slowing time down, and we're there. So we are T-minus 55 seconds away. I'm going to need to get better at rotating the camera, because I know this doesn't get picked up on YouTube. I can see the ship right now, but I bet you guys probably can't. So maybe if I keep it in that Milky Way nebula there. So we're 20 seconds away from doing a 40-second burn. We're going to adjust our ship a little bit more just to make sure it's right on the middle of that dot. We're going to speed up time slightly, slow it down, and we are going to fire. So this is going to get us to the moon, I believe, with a relatively large amount of fuel left. As long as we can orbit the moon, I can try some heroic measures to get us home. I don't want to. Might make for a good video, but it might also be the end of Kerbal Kerman, and I don't want that. She's done a really good job. So we are 11 seconds, 10 seconds. We're going to get to the moon. I think we'll be able to orbit the moon, and I think we can get back. There's a very nice feature. I'm just doing some quick adjusting here. I came off the maneuver node slightly, and we weren't quite getting to the moon. There we go. Now we got it. There's a nice feature of planets that have an atmosphere, and I've talked about this a little bit, aerobraking, and we'll probably utilize it in this situation. Ooh, we got our quick moon escape again. Uh-oh. I don't want to waste any extra fuel, so we're going to take the quick escape, and we're going to see if we can do what we need to do. If we can't, we can still complete the science around the moon contract and get enough science to unlock some stuff to get in orbit around the moon. But I think we can still do this, I hope. So what we're going to do is we're going to warp to here. Whoops, cannot auto-warp so far. Why not? There we go. We'll warp to there, and that will get us pretty darn close to the moon. Oh, we got our long moon encounter back again. Well, that's good. So we're going to warp up to there. Oh, and it fell away again. The predictions are getting a little bit wonky with our system. Oh, there we go. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Slow down time. We've encountered the moon. So, to orbit the moon, all we have to do is slow down. Right now, we're going to go flying off into space and then back into orbit around Kerbal. But all we have to do is slow down. So if we add a maneuver to the periapsis and we go prograde, so we slow down, we're going to end up in an orbit. And I don't want to waste too much fuel, so we're going to have a pretty high orbit around the moon. This is going to be a 9-second burn. That's what I like to see. That's a nice short burn. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to the little sort of gas can thing, and this shows all of our usable resources, our consumable resources. And at the very top is electric charge, and we've got a ton of it, so we're not going to go spiraling out of control. So that's pretty good to see. So we are going to orient our ship to the maneuver node, and we're going to get ready to burn at T-minus 4.5 seconds, which is in an hour and a half. So we're going to need to warp to that maneuver. If I can just adjust it. So I just adjusted the ship a whole bunch, and you'll see that we're actually down to 243 electric charge. So you can see kind of how quickly that charge goes away. That's why we're going to want solar panels at some point. I'm going to warp to the next maneuver node. See, now it showed up. I don't know why it shows up sometimes and not at other times. So we're going to warp to the next maneuver. And we're going to orbit the moon with Kerbal Kerman, and then hopefully get home. Hopefully get home. So I believe we're in space near the moon now. So I think we can just observe our goo now. We've already done this one, haven't we? So can we take another temperature reading here? We can't. You can only take one temperature reading. Well, that's a pain. Well, if I have enough excess fuel, I may do a closer flyby of the moon, and that might get us a bit of extra science. We'll do it anyways just to complete the contract, even if we only get a minimal amount of science. But let's speed up a little bit to T-minus 4.5 seconds. Slow right back down. 4.5 seconds. That was more like 4 seconds, but oh well. It'll still work. So we'll burn, and our burn is complete. Basically, speed up a little bit more. There we go. Our burn should be complete. We're in orbit around the moon. Up here, our contract has completed. We have orbited the moon. We have a tiny amount of fuel left. Tiny amount of fuel left. As I said, there's some heroics that I can try. I don't want to, but I could try it. So yes, we're high in space over the moon. We're going to take this science. That should be what they wanted, I think. We've got a mystery goo container here that we still haven't used. Yeah. Oh, something that I don't know. Did I do an EVA report last time? Well, let's find out. Let's zoom on in to Fran Bell. Yeah, she has taken an EVA report already. So let's get Fran Bell back in before she floats away. So there's the moon. We're in orbit around it. We can orbit it all we want. We can speed up time and we will just fly around the moon like that. Luckily, Fran Bell doesn't require food or anything. So we need to get back to Kerbin. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw a maneuver node on. And we're going to speed up to break out. And what we want to do is we want to get close to Kerbin when we fall out of the atmosphere, or when we fall out of the orbit of the, or the gravity of the moon, the orbital influence of the moon. So if we kind of spring out at this angle, we'll fall into a just under 4-kilometer orbit to the moon. And there's some specific angles that are more fuel efficient than others, and I can never quite remember what they are. That one's 2.5 kilometers. That's pretty good. How much of a burn is that? That's 3 seconds. That's nothing. So yeah, we're totally going to do that maneuver. Burn 3 seconds of fuel. We've got... Uh-oh. That went a little bit fast. That felt like it was going out of control. Oh, I see. Fran Bell has turned off SAS for some reason. There we go. That feels a lot better. So we're going to burn 3 seconds of fuel. We should have that much, and we should have enough to get back home. I think. We're still above the moon. This goo's still going to be pointless, isn't it? Yeah. It's saying 4.6, but that's because it doesn't know that we already have the 4.6 already. I might just save that in case we land in a cool biome on Kerbin. So yeah, 3 seconds, that's T minus 1.5 seconds, and that's in 3 hours and 42 minutes. So we are going to warp to, which way are we going around the moon? We are going that way. So yeah, we'll warp to here. Warp's next maneuver. Maybe I just have to click close enough to it instead of clicking elsewhere. But I was clicking pretty close last time I was trying. I'm not sure what was up with that. A bit finicky, but it works. Which is nice, because I used to have to use this Kerbal alarm clock up here. Now it's just built into the system, which is pretty cool. So we are on that maneuver node, basically. And we're going to speed up time. And we're going to speed down time. Don't want to go past this. Don't want to miss our chance to get back home. So T minus 1.5 seconds, we're going to burn for 3 seconds. And that is going to be here. 3, 2, and 1. So there we go. We are escaping the moon, and we are coming back into Kerbin's influence. So we can get rid of that maneuver node and speed time up. And so you see we're sort of falling away from the moon, and suddenly we're going to be back. Come on. Back into Kerbin's influence. There we go. There it is. So what we can do now, we have a very tiny amount of fuel, is we can throw a maneuver node on. Let's move that a little bit further. And we can burn prograde. And what we're looking to do is we're looking to get this around 70 kilometers. At 70 kilometers, we'll probably still fly around the Earth one last time, but the atmosphere is going to start to catch us, and it's going to start to slow us down, and we're still going to fall back to Kerbin without using any fuel for the slowdown at that part, which is very nice. It saves on fuel, it saves a little bit, it really does help out. So there it is at 86, 38. If we can get to 38, we'll just fall back down. That's a 7-second burn. We may still have to do the heroics that I spoke of. I don't know if that little sliver of fuel we have is 7 seconds of fuel, but we can hope. So we're going to burn for 7 seconds. That's T minus 4.5. We are going to try to warp to the next maneuver, try to figure out how this works. The option is not even appearing for me. Oh, there we go. Warp's next maneuver. No idea the rhyme or the reason behind that. But here we are. We're a minute away from it. Let's speed up time a little bit. We're looking for T-minus 4.5. And let's hope we have the time. Let's go. 6, 5, 4, 3. Ooh. We're out of fuel. We are out of fuel. How close did we get? We got to 864 kilometers. Fran Bell is currently trapped in orbit. So it's time to try out some heroics. I don't know if this will work. I hope so, but it'll make a good video. So we are going to point the ship prograde. That is the way that we'd really like to be burning right now, but we're not. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring Fran Bell out. Now Fran Bell and all Kerbals have jetpacks. They don't have a huge amount of fuel on these jetpacks. They have enough. They can go out and do some stuff. And I need to, I think, change the camera. Let me make Fran Bell just basically stop. There we go. Is it the camera? Yes, there we go. So what Fran Bell's going to do, she's going to push. She's going to push the ship. She is currently slamming into the back of that ship, and she is pushing it. And now she's going to get back into the cockpit before this thing rotates out of control. So she's going to get up to that ladder and grab it, get back on board, and let's see what our orbit looks like now. We were 860 kilometers, we're 858. That's not that much. That is not that much. So we're going to have to try this again, and try this perhaps a little bit more forcefully. So we're going to get her to go to the retrograde vector. Because she's a level 2 pilot now, I think, she has these buttons now. So we can make her lock the ship to retrograde. We can click that to make her lock the ship to prograde. So she has locked the ship to retrograde again. And we're going to get out and try to push again. Whoa! Uh-oh! Uh-oh! Get your jetpack on. She is flying away from that. Uh-oh. I don't know why she boinged off into space like that. But we should be okay. Yeah, there we go. We're getting back to the ship. We're getting back to the ship. Alright, we need to calm her down. There we go. We're back to this same speed as the ship, basically. So we are 856. So, we are going to need to try to push again. The jetpack controls are a bit finicky. It requires a really fine touch. But we are going to slam into that. There we go. That's a good lock. Uh-oh, it's rotating again. Oh, that rotation. It's going to kill me. Let's get back into the ship, and let's keep doing this. So we are 852 kilometers, so this might take some time. So I'm going to finagle a little bit and cut back when we figured things out a little bit more. Alright, it's been a relatively, not even relatively, a fairly long amount of real time of getting out, pushing, getting back in, pushing. But check this out, we are 103 kilometers at our periapsis. I think this might be the final push, so we're going to get Fran Bell on the retrograde vector. We're going to get her out. We're going to do a couple of things first up. We're going to right-click on this mystery goo, and we're going to, let's get it so you can see it. We're going to collect the data. So she's going to remove the data from that goo canister. She now has the goo report. And this is just an empty, useless husk of a mystery goo container now. I'm doing that because I just don't trust these goo containers to not blow up on re-entry, and that has our science from around the moon, which is fairly important. Temperature gauges won't blow up; they're just, you know, a temperature gauge. They're not something that's sticking out of the side. But we're gonna turn our lights on. We're gonna let go, and we're gonna see if this is the last push that gets us into aero braking distance. Now, the trouble that I've been having, and that you'll have, well, hopefully you won't have, hopefully you'll just have enough fuel, is that there's no SAS when she's not inside. So she can push on this, but it's not going to lock itself to the retrograde vector anymore. It's going to start rotating all the way around, because you're never going to get a perfect dead-on angle with this. Though I can finagle it a little bit and try to whoop, whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, all right, let's get back in before we float away and waste a whole bunch of our monopropellant. So, you know, I can try to correct that, but eventually you're going to fall off the retrograde vector, and you don't want to accidentally... Hang on a second here. The camera controls are obnoxious with the jetpack. Sometimes the free camera works a little bit better, but I sometimes just lose the ability to get the camera behind me, and it's really annoying. But there we go, we're back in. Let's board. 89 kilometers. So this should be the last push, I believe. We want to be below about 70. So there we go. We're going to go to the retrograde vector. We're locked to it. We're going to get Fran Bell out. We're going to turn our lights on. We're going to let go. We're going to turn on our jetpack. We're going to get back here and we're going to push, ideally 20 kilometers more. I would not recommend this method of propulsion to anybody. Bring enough fuel. Bring enough fuel, and don't screw up your initial orbit around Kerbin. That will save you a whole amount of fuel as well. We came off there a little bit. We're still pushing basically retrograde, so this should be pretty good. This should be our last push, I believe. I hope. I really hope, because it's been a while. I'm looking at my audio recording right now, and it's just past the 1 hour and 20 minute mark. And let me tell you, this ain't a 1 hour and 20 minute video once it gets edited down. So we have boarded, and we are 69 kilometers above Kerbin. That should be enough. So what we are going to do is speed up time a little bit. We're going to lock the retrograde vector, just so that we're pointing that way. And we're going to warp to, let's say, about here. So let's warp there. And let's triumphantly return to Kerbin. After a while, looking up in the top left-hand corner, we see that it's T plus 8 days since we left Kerbin. That's because I actually sped up time a little bit and went all the way around Kerbin again to get up to the apoapsis, since that's our fastest point. Our slowest point, which is a better point to start slowing yourself down. So here we are 69 kilometers above Kerbin. We're going to lock to the retrograde vector because we want our heat shield that we have, that I thankfully remembered, to be pointing that direction. And I want to see us slow down. So we are going 3136 meters per second in orbit. I want to see us hit the atmosphere and start losing speed. And you see we are losing speed still. 3131, 3130. We've passed our periapsis, our lowest point, which is 69 kilometers. We're still gaining altitude now, but we are losing speed, which I think means it worked, but I'm not sure actually. 69,884 should be low enough. I'm going to warp back around again and see if maybe we're not quite in the atmosphere yet. That could be a possibility. I thought it was 70 kilometers that we needed to be above. So here we are, we're at 69. We've just hit our periapsis. No, we're not slowing down. So what we're going to need to do is warp back up to our apoapsis and get out and push one more time. I could have swore it was 70, but maybe that's not quite where the atmosphere is. Maybe it's something more like 60. But on this push, we should be able to get it down to 60 kilometers, maybe even 50-something kilometers, which will be pretty darn good and should be more than enough to get us into the atmosphere. So there we are at our apoapsis. We are going to lock to the retrograde vector. That is retrograde, right? Yep, retrograde. We're going to EVA Kerbal, turn on her lights, let go, turn on her jetpack. We are going to do the final push. And there's the moon where we came from quite some time ago. But here we are pushing, trying to correct for the drift that's happening a little bit. But of course, as you correct on the drift, by pushing down or left or right, you end up slipping further and further off the center of that engine. And things go a bit pear-shaped. So let's grab the ladder, get on board. What are we at for our periapsis now? We are at 60. I feel like that should be low enough. So let's warp to maybe here or so. I really feel like 60 should be low enough to start scraping the atmosphere and losing a whole bunch of speed. Here we are, getting up to our warp point. We're going to go retrograde. We are 207-ish kilometers above the surface of Kerbal at the moment. Our speed is slower because, of course, we got out and pushed the rocket a little bit. Texture is not loading there. That looks odd. All right, let's get us a little bit closer. Warp another couple minutes. So we are 74 kilometers above the surface of Kerbal and dropping. We should drop another 10, and what I'm looking ideally for is this atmosphere gauge to start going down a little bit to show that we are, in fact, in the atmosphere. And there it is. It has gone down a little bit. So we are scraping the upper edge of the atmosphere, which hopefully is going to start to slow us down. Our periapsis is what, 6252? So we've still got a couple of kilometers to go, and I really want to see our orbit speed drop. Come on, please drop. Please drop. No, our orbit speed's still just going up. Aero braking's not working quite the way that I explained and thought that it worked. I am on definitely the sort of outer edges of the atmosphere anyways, so perhaps that could be it. So we've passed, or are about to pass, we're about to pass our periapsis, our lowest point. There we go. Now it's ticking back up again. Yeah. So I think we're going to do one more push at our apoapsis, which should get us into the atmosphere. And I might need to do a little bit reading up on aero braking after this video and remind myself of exactly where we need to be. And ooh, our electric charge is dropping a lot, which is not ideal. Not ideal at all. Not sure why it was dropping so rapidly there. There we go. Because we shouldn't be using any electric charge when we're warping. We're just turning everything off and just going. We're only using electric charge when we're actively moving the ship around. Well, I guess we did lose a little bit on the periapsis there. We're at 60.2-ish. And it was a lower 0.2-ish than it was before, I believe. So there we go. We're on retrograde. Kerbal out. Lights on. Let go. Jetpack on. And let's do this. This should get us very, very solidly into the atmosphere with this push. She's a pushing. She's correcting. Correcting for that spin. This is a good push. We're staying mostly on target here for the time being. Starting to get some left rotation, some down rotation. Ooh, we slipped off a little bit. Ooh, oh dear. There we go. All right, that should have been good enough. Let's go and get back in the ship. Grab on. Come on. Grab on. Board the ship. What are we looking at? We're looking at 45. Beautiful. That should place us on Kerbin. So we're going to warp to here. And hopefully this will be it. This has been a long mission for me. Hopefully the edited video comes down a fair bit and it's not terribly long for you. Off in the distance we can see some objects out there, some different planets and such. We've got Minimus there. Not sure what that is. That's Gilly. That's the moon of one of the planets that we're seeing. And Ike is out there. That's the moon of the Mercury-like planet, I think, or possibly the Mars-like planet called Duna. Alright, so we're going to lock to the retrograde vector. And we're going to hope. We are going to hope. 57 kilometers. Solidly starting to scrape the atmosphere a little bit here. And we're dropping down to what? A periapsis of 45 kilometers? 45 kilometers. So we're getting more and more into the atmosphere, and ideally the aerobraking will kick in. Ideally the atmosphere is going to do what it said it would be doing. What it used to be doing. Please? I wonder if they took aerobraking out. I mean, it's a totally an aerodynamic principle. It's not like it was a glitch or anything. There we go. Look at our speed. Our speed's starting to drop quite a bit now. Our speed is rapidly dropping. There we go. We're about to hit our periapsis, and our speed is going down, 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 which is good to see. So if we check this, yeah, you see our apoapsis is starting to pull in as well. So we've passed our periapsis, but we are in the atmosphere. And so our apoapsis is starting to sort of collapse a little bit. Now, if I sped this up, the physical simulation, I think, would kind of break it a little bit. And I would just whip around to the apoapsis. So we do need to do this in real time a little bit, but I think we're doing it. I think we're doing it. We are slowing down quite a bit. Let's try speeding up and see if the apoapsis continues to collapse. Oh, it does. Excellent. So yes, let's have the apoapsis just continue to collapse here. The periapsis is going down as well, which is great. Our electric charge is dropping down, which isn't great, because we are in the physical warping as opposed to the non-physical warping. I don't know the exact difference between it, but we've escaped the atmosphere again, but our periapsis got lower and our apoapsis got lower, which means that we can do that again, and again, and again, and again. Or we can just give one more push at the apoapsis, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to do one more push that is just going to slam us into the atmosphere. Hopefully at an angle that doesn't just blow us up. I'm still not 100% clear on exactly how the re-entry effects work. They are new to me. They didn't exist before. But we're going to do this here. We're going to get Eve out. Turn her light on. Let her go. Jetpack away. And push. Push, 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 push. Some rotation going there. Actually fully just corrected it there. That won't last long, but I've got a feeling that should be it. I feel like that should have us at 30-ish kilometers, maybe even 20-something kilometers. Let's get back in and check. That got us to 34 kilometers. That should be great. So let's warp there. And I hope finally get us back to the surface of Kerbin. Let's flip ourselves retrograde. We are in the atmosphere, scraping it a little tiny bit. So we're scraping it a little tiny bit. We jump up here. We see the apoapsis is collapsing. So it is working. It was just going to take several passes, I think, to get the apoapsis to fully collapse. So we're entering the atmosphere more and more and more. We're about to cross 50 kilometers. We're going to hit a periapsis of 34 at least. And if we drop far enough, this may may return us to kind of the far side of Kerbin. I'm not entirely sure, but we'll see. So there we go. Our speed's starting to drop. So we're getting to the distance where we really start to experience the atmosphere dragging on us. And we still have another 6 kilometers. Oh. We've got some re-entry effects. So, what do I do? My heat shield's up here. I'm not sure how much heat those parts can take. Let's throw them away. Oh dear. Oh no. Oh dear. So we caught up. There we go. There we go. We are away from that. Because I saw those batteries were looking like they were going to blow up, which would not have been good. We are fully out of electric charge as well. We are fully out of electric charge, so we cannot control the ship anymore. We are just sort of going on this retrograde vector. Which is good that we correctly did it this time and threw away those, because we can't get out and push anymore because we can't control the ship. So, hopefully this works. We're sticking around in the atmosphere still. We're still... Oh, nope. Now we're gaining distance. So we're going to go back around one more time, I believe, and maybe that will get us there. So this heat shield uses a substance called a ablator, and it sort of degrades as it experiences heat. So we've used up to one single unit of the ablator, so I think we're pretty good for the surface of that anyways. But what we're going to need to do is speed up time and get ourselves back to another experience with Kerbin's atmosphere. Then I think we'll be home. I think we'll be home free. I hope we'll be home free. Certainly hope we'll be home free. So we've got to speed up time until we're a certain distance above Kerbin, which gives us further warp capabilities. And you can see we've experienced enough of Kerbin's atmosphere that our periapsis is down to 29. Uh-oh. We're rotating off the prograde, or the retrograde vector. I'm hoping that's sort of a natural rotation, and that when we come back around, we'll still be on the retrograde vector. Because if not, I think Friendball might just blow up. Which would be a horrifying end to this video. It would be an absolutely horrifying end to this video. Alright, so we are just sort of rotating. There's the retrograde vector that we really want to be on. Oh, we're going to go back to it. We're going to fall back to it a little bit. Okay, so yeah, it looks like it's sort of settling us back on the retrograde vector, so that's good. That's good. That's probably the heaviest part of the ship, and so it would naturally fall towards the retrograde vector. As long as that sway kind of fixes itself. Yeah, turning off SAS doesn't really do anything. So, we'll experience the atmosphere and see what happens. We're going to see re-enter effects pretty soon, I think. Speed up time a little bit. 45. We see them, what, at about 40, I believe? Oh, there we go. We're really starting to center out on the retrograde vector now. Well, that's lucky. I did not know that would happen. Alright, so our periapsis is getting lower, lower, and lower. Down to 20. We should be coming home this time. I think we should be coming home this time. Starting to see re-entry effects. We've got 197 of our ablator left. We should be good. I think we should be good. Let's see this periapsis drop to 0. There it goes. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 0. We are hitting Kerbin. We are coming home to Kerbin. As long as we don't explode. As long as we don't explode. We're coming back. After a very, very, very long mission of quickly visiting the moon as planned, and then spending forever getting out and pushing. So, we're down to 28 kilometers. Our ablator is holding quite well. Our goos haven't exploded, so I guess that's good. I guess that is good. Yeah, that ablator really doesn't get used up very much. I wonder if it's possible to use up all the ablator. Maybe if you drop straight in, it uses up a lot faster or something. Although it is starting to tick down a little bit faster now. Oh, the goo has the temperature gauges now. These little green bars here. When they get to the end, the goo's gonna blow up. Which is unideal. Unideal for sure. Maybe they won't blow up though. Gauges are holding a little bit steady, I think, and we're gonna stop experiencing re-entry effects pretty soon, I believe. Oh, the ablator is coming down. It's down to 182. So we're at 17 kilometers. Doing well. The effects are starting to go away. Beautiful. We are coming back down to Kerbin. So I'm going to speed up time a little bit. Not too much, though. I don't want Kerbal to just smash into the surface. It looks like we're going to be falling into some ocean. I think it is. Yeah, that's ocean that we're falling into. So we're going to speed up until we hit about 2,000. Deploy our parachute. Wait for it to open. There's the moon off in the distance. We were there, and now, finally, after a very long time, we are here. See if we can get some mystery goo. I assume we've done the science here already several times. Certainly have. I also noticed I put on 2 temperature gauges by accident, and this one hasn't been used, but we have already gotten a temperature reading while flying over Kerbin's waters. Perhaps we can get one from in Kerbin's waters, but we'll see in a couple of seconds. There we go. We have landed. Let's check the temperature. Yeah, we get an extra 3 science, and we recover the vessel. Longest mission ever. We're getting close to hitting 2 hours on my audio recording. Luckily, it's going to be a lot shorter for you guys. We returned with 76 science. We're back to the science that we were at from when we started. We came back with a little bit of money from recovered parts, but a whole lot of money from contracts. And Kerbal got another experience point. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the totally not planned, and I don't want to ever do it again, experience of pushing a spacecraft back to Kerbin. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions about my channel or about Kerbal Space Program or about what just happened there, definitely let me know. You can find me on Twitter at The Let's Play Leak. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/The Let's Play Leak. And you've already found me here on YouTube. If you like the videos, you can click those little thumbs up icons to let me know, let the world know, and keep my videos rising up through the ranks. You should also subscribe to my channel. There's a subscribe button below each video and one in the outro of each video. That'll keep you up to date on all the latest Steam roulettes, Engrot, the new game review overview thingy, which I did the first of last week, and of course Kerbal Space Program Completes. As always, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you all next time.